Good morning, everybody. This is Arun Wadvani from Ingram Micro Cloud. I'm excited today to be able to take you through this webinar on DocuSign, going beyond the eSignature. I'm excited to have in the room with me today Kerry Pappas, who's the Channel Director of DocuSign, and also working with her today will be Martin Rappel. So I'll quickly introduce the two speakers and we'll kick off. Just before we do that, though, I'd just like to do a sound check to make sure everybody can hear me. Just please, can somebody just confirm that you can hear us okay? All good? That sounds good. Excellent. Thank you. So what we'll do is we'll get Kerry and Martin just to give us a quick overview on DocuSign. It will probably go for about 40 minutes, including the demonstration. Then we'll run the Q&A session straight after that section. So feel free to put any questions you have in between into the chat box, and we'll answer those towards the end of the DocuSign session. After that, I'll then give you a quick overview of the Ingram Cloud Marketplace. Those of you that haven't seen it recently, you may have noticed we've got a new version. It's called UX1 or User Experience 1. It's a lot more modern looking. It's a lot more enticing to use. So I'll just give you a quick overview of how that looks. And hopefully we'll finish off in about an hour. So over to Martin and Kerry. And welcome.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Arun. So jumping in, I guess maybe I'll sort of introduce myself as we go into this, but I'm a solution engineer at DocuSign. So I work very closely with our sales team, specifically around more technical sales though, and definitely will be one of the sort of team at DocuSign. I'll be able to help you out in your sales. So I guess jumping in, we're starting to sort of frame the conversation that you see with DocuSign. Many people know us as an e-signature provider, but there's definitely a lot more to that. So with that said, the sort of first place we start with DocuSign these days is really with the statement that every business runs on agreements and they are everywhere. So this may seem obvious to some and maybe silly to others, but if you think about it, you'll see that if you look across your business and across those of your customers, that there are literally agreements everywhere you look, be it front of office in terms of sales, things like that, or in the back of office, and that's often, you know, maybe an HR sort of use case. At the end of the day, though, these agreements go through a set sort of process, and what that looks like is very different from business to business. So we sort of, the way we see it at DocuSign is that every company has what we call a system of agreement, whether they know it or not. And again, that system of agreement is how you manage those different agreements, be it front of office or back of office. So we see four key areas in that. There's that prepare, sign, act, and manage. Now, as you'll see from this slide, the way that this is often done is quite disparate. So these legacy systems of agreements are often made up over time. They will have different legacy technology systems and processes as well. So often in that prepare phase, there will be a lot of manual work, often paper-based as well in terms of actually being able to collaborate and get an agreement together and then actually even printing it out. The signing piece is where we fit in very closely as well, of course, with the e-signature, where in many systems of agreement, they may have digitized many of it depending on the maturity of the customer, but that sign piece is often the one that has been missed. And that means that there's a lot of manual sort of steps in terms of printing, signing, scanning, faxing, etc. And then there's the act piece, and this, of course, is when your agreement has been completed and signed. That's not usually where the process ends. In fact, it's sometimes where it begins in terms of actually being able to act on that, potentially take something like a payment, or even just trigger other processes with another team or even within another system. And then at the end, there's that manage phase. And this, of course, comes down to how are you storing your documents, making sure you can find agreements when they're required, and in cases of, you know, there may be an audit, something along those lines. Now, the way that we see this is that with those legacy systems, they're often just not built for the speed of today's business. And what that means is that there's often a real cost associated with the entire process. The first one that you'll really want to be speaking to, and this sort of resonates with most businesses, is the actual physical cost. So we see, having worked with our customers over the sort of 15 plus years that DocuSign has been around, that on average we see about $30 of savings using DocuSign per agreement. Those are hard dollar savings in terms of actually printing documents, the man hours spent chasing them, preparing them, couriering them to people to get signed, etc. So it's a huge cost saving that you can get when using something like DocuSign opposed to the old way. The other thing is then the time spent with agreements. So there's a lot of additional time often spent in the prepare phase where you may have to manually prepare documents, but then also in actually just getting it signed. And that's really where we see the biggest time savings with DocuSign in terms of being, on average, we see that when we start working with customers, they say their processes are around 7 days in terms of having a final agreement executed, where with DocuSign, that often comes down to a day or sometimes even just a number of hours, depending on that agreement. And this obviously varies depending on the process and the size of the company as well. The other thing when it comes to doing it the old way is really just the customer and employee experience. So no one likes spending time having to manually do anything these days. And in fact, most people want to do things very streamlined online on their mobile phone while they're on the go. Obviously, printing out documents, having to scan them and email them back to people, has a detrimental effect on that customer experience and employee experience. And then there's that legal risk at the end, making sure not only that the agreements you're sending that may contain sensitive information are actually shared only in a secure manner, but also making sure that you can actually get them signed, prove who signed them, and then again have them securely stored at the end of the process. So the legacy system is definitely something that is costing your customers that are out there, and something that they'll often want to be able to actually sort of get away from. And the way we see that is that businesses will ultimately want a single unified system of agreement platform, and that's where we kind of see DocuSign fitting into the discussion as you have that with your customers. So you'll see again we have those 4 phases: prepare, sign, act, and manage. But on this slide you'll see that it doesn't, again, fit just into one aspect of the business. So this isn't a point solution where you're only talking to procurement or you're only talking to legal. It's literally anyone that you are in contact with across the business that is going to have agreements they need signed and a process that sits behind that. And again, we'll kind of go into a bit of the detail on each of these on the next slide and kind of how DocuSign fits into that. So in terms of the preparation, there's obviously the documents, the recipients, and tags in terms of where do you want people to maybe sign a document or enter some sort of information. So we can do a lot of this through our web application that we're going to look at briefly today. But when working with other systems, DocuSign is working on building out document generation systems and can just streamline that as well through the web application. The sign piece, as we'll see a bit later as well, there's ways to automatically route documents through set workflows, ensure people have viewed them, identify who those people are, of course sign, which will happen on any device. So essentially any smart device, people do not need a DocuSign account to sign. It's really only the person sending or initiating the envelope that needs the DocuSign license. And then through that, there's different ways of collecting data and ensuring it's secure. And then, of course, there's that act and manage. And again, the act may be triggering some sort of process in another system, be it a bespoke system or another sort of cloud vendor, and then the final storage. And we'll kind of talk to that a little bit again as we keep moving through here. So with that said, that's been a very quick sort of introduction into what DocuSign does at a high level, again, focusing on those 4 sort of key parts of the agreement process. So what we're going to go through is just a quick demo showing you the DocuSign web application. So this is essentially that if you sign up for DocuSign today, or your customer does, they will log in when they activate the account, and this is what they get. And this is often a great place to start with DocuSign. As we'll see in a second, there's a lot of integrations that you can use, but this is a quick way to get value. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you a very quick HR use case, just an onboarding letter. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to say I'm sending a new envelope, and we'll see that it opens up the sort of preparation screen. Now, an envelope in DocuSign terms is very much the same as a physical envelope in that it's a container you can put one or many documents into. But of course, there's a lot of other benefits in doing this all electronically. So you'll see I could go ahead and manually tag my document, send it out, but I'm going to use a template. So you can see you can use these templates to streamline the sending process and just make it as quick and easy for people as possible. Now, I've got the document there. I could easily go ahead and upload other documents from different cloud solutions over here. I could even use DocuSign templates to bring in more static documents like maybe T's and C's, things like that that don't change, so you don't need to upload them each time. For now, we're going to keep it simple, just sending this sort of offer letter to our prospect. And you'll see here that I can go ahead and add the different recipients. As I type their name, because I've sent to them before, it actually finds them in the address book even. And then if we look at the workflow, we'll see that we have the routing order to the left of everyone, meaning it's going to go through one person before it gets to the next. And we'll see that they have different actions. So these people over here need to sign the document, while we have at the end in the template payroll hard-coded onto that who will just receive a final copy. So essentially this helps quickly prepare the envelope for sending. And then at the end, we can even ensure that with the letter, the offer letter, once it's signed, payroll automatically gets it, removing any manual steps that people would need to take throughout the process. And if we scroll down, we'll see there's an email message and things that everyone will receive there as well. Now, something that is great, and most people that work with agreements love, is the ability to have automatic reminders and expiration. So this again just makes it that much easier for people wanting to get agreements signed quickly to have that happen, where you can have the system automatically remind them, in this case after 3 days if they have not signed the document, every 2 days after that if they still haven't signed it, and if they haven't signed by 30 days, it will actually expire the envelope. So this is really great when there's something on offer that you may not extend into the next period, particularly in sales. This is something used often if an offer is only valid within a certain quarter, month, or year. So I'll go ahead and just save that. At this stage, the envelope's actually ready, so I could say send now, but I'm going to hit next at the bottom there just to show everyone the basics of what's actually happening in the background here. So you'll see that this is the tagging screen. You'll notice at the top, I have the 2 recipients that needed to take action on the document. Then I have all of these tags down the left-hand side that I could simply attach to the document where I want someone to sign or take any other action. But because I've used a template, if I just jump down to the signing location, we'll see that it's actually pre-tagged the document. So I can see here that Danielle Springer in the yellow, these tags are associated to her, and Jackie, these tags are associated to her. So again, very quick and easy to prepare your agreements for signing and send them out. So that stage, I'm going to go ahead and just hit send, and that's going to send it out to both of them, and we'll have a look at what it looks like to sign. Before we do that, another thing that's great and people love when using DocuSign is the ability to manage in-flight envelopes and really track exactly where they are. So I can see as soon as I've sent it that it's now been sent to Danielle to go ahead and sign, and then that the other people are waiting. So they haven't actually received anything yet. So I'm going to just jump across to my email, and when I've got the email over here from at Danielle, I can see that it has the different DocuSign branding. This can easily be branded to your customer's branding, and all they need to do is click on the link. And again, that can be done. The signer does not need an account, and they can do it from just about any smart device. Once they get the agreement, they generally need to agree to use electronic records and signatures, this is just making sure that in line with the Electronic Transactions Act, they have consented to do this with your business. Once they've done that, you'll go ahead and continue, and they enter the document, and they can simply scroll down the document, or they can just click the tag on the left there and be guided straight to where they need to take some action on it. You'll see that for Danielle, it already has Head of Sales as the title, so for some people that may have used DocuSign, it will actually be able to pre-populate some tags for them anyway. And to sign, she'll simply click on the tag and go through the steps to adopt a signature. So again, a very important step when it comes to electronic signatures, because what we're doing is a step away from the paper world. So at the end of the day, it doesn't actually matter what the person's signature looks like. You can see we have all these different font styles they can choose. They can even choose to draw a signature, which is great if they are signing on a mobile device or any sort of touchscreen device. But at the end of the day, again, it doesn't matter, because what they're doing is they're agreeing that whatever signature style they select is the same as if they're signing with pen on paper. And again, this is going to build a very detailed audit trail in DocuSign, so that for yourselves or your customer as the sender, you can easily ensure who that person was that signed it and find all of those details about them. So if I now go back to DocuSign, we'll see at this stage that the envelope has actually progressed along. So just refreshing over there, we'll see here that actually Danielle has now completed that. I will have actually received an email telling me Danielle has viewed the envelope as well. And then Jackie at this point will have received the document to sign as well. So if I just jump over there, we'll see Jackie's inbox. Again, a different message for Jackie, so you can have customized messaging per recipient. And we just go straight into signing. Now, a question that does actually come up quite often is when they're signing the document, do they have to go through these steps to adopt a signature each time? And the answer is, for people that haven't got a DocuSign account, you will want to capture the intent each time. So they will go through this. But for people that have a DocuSign account, they'll simply click the tag, it applies the signature, and they can move forward. And they could even, in that case, upload a version of their paper-based signature if they wanted to. And that's essentially it. So that's how quick it can go. I've just signed through 2 different people that may have been in completely different locations in the country or even around the world. And that's one agreement signed very quickly. Now, what will happen at this stage, if we just jump back over here and I'll just hit refresh again, is that the envelope essentially reaches its complete status at this point. So I can see the envelope's complete. I can now access and download the completed documents over here. So the other thing that will happen is that we'll see in email that everyone involved in the transaction automatically receives a completed document, which they can access in DocuSign, or you can choose to even have attached as a PDF to the email as well. And then if we just look in DocuSign, one thing to point out here that is really handy to know is when you are going through DocuSign, you can actually, the audit trail I've spoken about is automatically built, and that is always tracked within the system itself. So it's taking a while to unzip that. What I might do is that we can see, I'll just skip to the history at this location over here. We can see that it has a very detailed audit trail, who's received it, who viewed it at what time, etc. And if I get the certificate, which I've described here, we can see that this document is automatically created each time. It has a unique envelope ID. It tells you exactly what was in the envelope that was sent, how many pages, how many signatures were applied, and then, of course, importantly, who applied those signatures, when it was sent, viewed, and signed, the fact they agreed to do business with you electronically as well. And all of these documents are digitally sealed, so we'll apply a digital certificate to these documents, making sure that people can't just edit the PDF and change any of the documents after they've even been removed from DocuSign. So we completely lock that down. So that's more or less it for the demonstration piece. So let's take a step back into the presentation and really look a little bit more at DocuSign and that system of agreement that we talked about. Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Where is this page number 3?
Good question. So if I'll just jump back and actually show you. So if
I'll read the question out again for everybody, just in case I missed it.
Sure. So the question was really where was the payroll recipient and how did they fit into that? So essentially what that was, so if you see my screen again now, you can see these two people actually signed the document, and the payroll team actually just received a copy. So what that is if we jump back to the email, there's the payroll group. They've actually received that final copy as well, the same as the other people. But even with them in this case, they've got their own message here telling them to go ahead and process the payroll. So essentially in this case, it isn't actually using an integration as such. It's more just using DocuSign's sort of raw web application to trigger those other processes with other teams. Thanks, Katie. Perfect. So jumping back in, and I think that was actually a good question kind of coming to this slide now. So what we just looked at is really the most basic implementation of DocuSign that you would essentially ever be selling. It's for a company that maybe doesn't use some of the other products that you've sold so much, or they do just want to start out. And we often recommend that. Even I've worked with a number of companies over my 4 years at DocuSign, everything from large banks down to smaller SMB customers. And even the big banks often start using the web application because you can stand it up very quickly. You can train people to use it very quickly. It is as secure as any other platform you'll use. It just makes sense to do, and you get a lot of lessons learned through doing it in that way. But for sometimes more advanced customers or customers that do focus a lot more on the other products that you guys will all be selling, we do have a lot of pre-built integrations that can be used there as well. So this is a very short list of them, but we do have, as you'll notice up at the top right there, over 350 plus out-of-the-box integrations. So these are integrations that other software vendors out there have actually chosen to create in conjunction with DocuSign at times, so that you can essentially have a license, say, to Office 365 or Microsoft Dynamics or any of the others, and simply plug DocuSign in and basically do what I show you through the web app, but do it through the integration. So I know that a good few of you will focus on Microsoft. So we actually have great integrations with Dynamics that allow sales reps, let's say, from Dynamics to send agreements out. If we use the example that I was looking at, there was only a couple fields like with the person's title and things like that, but you can have more fields like that where you can actually merge data between Dynamics and DocuSign. You can capture it in the same way and have it right back into Dynamics. With Office 365, we also have native integrations with Word, SharePoint, and Outlook as well. So really, most products that people will be using there, we have a way of natively sending straight from that. The other thing worth noting, I think while on this slide, is that we do have an open API. So if you are working with other customers that maybe use bespoke systems, that there obviously won't be an out-of-the-box integration. That is something that they can build an integration into DocuSign, and we have professional services that can help them do that as well. With that said, there's also great mobile apps. So I mentioned signing on mobile, and that's something that anyone can do by simply clicking on a link in an email, and that will actually go ahead and sign in their browser. But there are these native apps across most major platforms that are really handy to allow people to quickly send from their mobile device, or even just as a way to monitor their envelope. So similar to how I could check the envelope and see who had signed or not, or who's viewed the envelope, I know our sales reps use the app a lot, where we'll send from our CRM, get a customer to sign, and the sales rep can simply track that on their mobile device and see exactly where the agreements are, send out manual reminders if they want to send out a couple reminders, all of that sort of thing, which is great. And there's an SDK to even build further mobile apps as well. And then I guess for you guys, why would you really be selling DocuSign? Why do people choose DocuSign? So we are the category leader. So DocuSign was actually founded in 2003. when our founder, Tom Gonza, was actually going through the sale of a house, and there was a lot of sort of paperwork involved in, and they sort of said, how can we do this better? And that's really where we came from. But since then, we've grown into having about 425,000 plus paying customers from really every sort of segment of business, be it banks, all the way down to beauty parlors, whatever it may be. A lot of people use DocuSign to ensure they're getting documents signed quickly and securely. And that's really that hundreds of millions of users have used us, and really why Forrester has essentially described DocuSign as becoming a verb. People now say they're going to DocuSign something rather than just simply signing it. There's also been a huge amount of investment in the platform, which has meant that DocuSign is the market leader in terms of market share as well. So as you go out there, more and more people you speak to will actually have seen DocuSign, in some sort of way, even if it's meant they've just signed a document when maybe purchasing something. And it's really the big thing to talk to as well when it comes to maybe having DocuSign against competitors and things as well, is the platform availability. So DocuSign, you'll see there's 4 nines uptime, which essentially means we don't go down for any sort of release. You'll never see a notification on DocuSign saying, hey, during the next 6 hours, we're down to, for an upgrade. That doesn't happen. We simply roll things out, and the way that our architecture is built allows it to never go down, which means as well, very importantly, that you can use DocuSign exactly when you need it. If it's the last few minutes at the end of a quarter to get a deal signed, DocuSign is going to allow you to do that. The security is world-class. We call it bank-grade security. Everything's fully encrypted at 256-bit AES, meaning as well that it really reaches the highest standards that I'm sure you guys will be used to as well. And then, of course, there's that ecosystem. So we partner closely with Microsoft and SAP, a number of other sort of vendors out there with those pre-built connectors. And again, of course, the API. So really, you don't have to only sort of target customers that maybe use some of the other products. The web app works on its own, or of course, they can build custom integrations there as well. So I guess just some of the key benefits, and I'm sure that you guys will have probably pulled this out throughout the discussion, but the risks we see on the side of sort of wasting time is sort of negated through DocuSign. The money spent doing those manual things of printing, posting, or couriering documents, and then using huge spaces in the office to actually store paper, lost revenue to competitors in providing a quicker go-to-market in terms of allowing people to sign up for what they wanted to purchase immediately, rather than taking time and maybe losing some steam on that sale if it's a sales use case. And then, of course, there's the satisfaction. You'll notice as I went through that demo, it's very quick and easy to use. And once you've done it once, most people don't want to go back. And then, of course, the signing piece as well just makes it that much easier. And then, of course, there's to talk to the legal risk. If you are posting documents, I know I personally had it where documents can go missing. I've worked with tax agents that have actually done it, and their customers' tax documents have gone missing in the post. It's that sort of thing we can negate, and we can ensure that everything that is being sent, signed, and then stored is completely secure throughout the process as well. And I think some sort of phrases that may trigger the DocuSign conversation as you guys are out there, selling the different products you sell, are things like customers talking about going digital, or maybe they're looking at using, Office 365 and Dynamics. As soon as you sort of see things like that, DocuSign is going to fit into that conversation. Or maybe they just, sick of scanning and mailing documents, and it's kind of holding back the way they're doing business. And I think, there's a few others there, but it's all around basically a digital transformation is a big thing, and then just seeing it fitting into some of the products you sell, or basically the business they're running as well there. So I think the next part then is really, for you guys out there, obviously with a lot of other sort of teams we work with, you're selling a lot of different products. There's a lot for you to kind of know and manage. So at DocuSign, we want to make sure that process is as quick and easy for you as possible. And that's obviously why we're doing this webinar, but this is not where it ends. So we want to work with you guys going forward. So we have a large team locally based in Australia, as well as in Asia as well, of account executives, and they can really offer with sales expertise, the qualification, discovery of deals, and then of course pricing and packaging. So we can offer a lot of help around that. We also have a pre-sales team of solution engineers, including myself. We work closely with our account executives to make sure we can help with any sort of technical discovery, solution guidance, of course doing bespoke demonstrations, even more so of course than what I've shown you guys today. We'll use customers' actual processes, their actual documents, and we can do solution workshops. So you may be selling for one use case that the customer's looking at, which of course is great and it's a good place to start. You may be working with a bigger customer that is looking to transform their way they're doing business and going digital across the board. And we can kind of help in conversations with them to do workshops, uncover all of the different use cases they have, and build some sort of ROI assessment around that as well to kind of help them build any business cases to go for a solution like DocuSign. Post-sale, of course, again, once the agreement's signed, that's not usually the end. So once you have actually gone ahead and sold with DocuSign, we work closely with customers to make sure that we have we can get them up and running as quickly as possible through our customer success team. There's a lot of out-of-the-box sort of packages we offer, everything from just a few hours with the professional services or customer success team through to fully scoped, tens of hours projects where they want to sort of build something custom. So we can really help for every sort of size of deal that you're selling there. And then I guess from your point of view, why would you want to sell DocuSign? I think obviously, again, you're focusing on a lot of products, I'm sure for most of you. So with DocuSign, what you want to do is really be able to sell a complete solution. So if you're already selling something like Dynamics, think about that system of agreement sort of discussion. How are customers going to get their agreements signed out of something like Dynamics? And that's really where DocuSign can fit into it as well. It's also relatively simple to sell, or at least in the first sort of instances, it makes a lot of impact and customers seem to simply get the value. As soon as you do a basic demonstration, it's kind of clear that this is going to make it quick and easy for everyone. It's also great to attach to your bigger deals, again, which was mentioned in terms of CRM, etc. With that said, I want to make sure that you don't only look at it as something that needs to plug into other platforms. The web app, which we did the demonstration through, is really a great cost-effective way to get started. It gets the value immediately and allows them to roll out. So that's another way to be able to bring your deal forward rather than have it delayed by a customer that says we want to spend 6 months building some sort of custom integration through multiple other systems. Have them start with the web app and get the quick wins while they maybe even build out other parts of the process. It's also, compared to some larger sales, a relatively short sales cycle with a large margin, as you can see there, for you guys to work on as well. So it's something that, again, you can focus on. You could take end-to-end yourself, but as you get into it, we would strongly urge you to come and sort of partner with DocuSign. We obviously have the expertise there, and we're more than happy to kind of lead that for you as well. So I guess moving on, and I think I might pass this over to Kerry. So in terms of sort of deal registration, so.
Hi everyone, thanks very much, Martin. That was a great explanation of what we're all about. So I'm the channel director, and I have a very strong channel background. I've worked with distribution and for various integrators and resellers over the years. So I'm your go-to person. If you're interested in anything you heard, I'm the person to talk to regarding setting you up as a partner, helping with enablement and building programs and marketing. So I just wanted to go through the deal registration process. We actually do have a deal registration process, and it's really important that if you do have an opportunity to flag it with Ingram Micro, and they'll go ahead and do that deal registration for you. Probably the best way to do it. I've also got access to, well, I've also provided a bunch of handy links that I find these are the most frequently asked questions by customers, whether, you know, DocuSign, is it secure? Is it legal? What else can I plug it into? How can I play with it? So I've got there a whole bunch of links that you'll actually get a copy of this slide deck at the end for yourself to look at. I've also got a fantastic white paper, sorry. I don't love white papers, but this one's really, really interesting and really easy to read and understand. So that's available for you as well. But what I'm really asking for is, if you know you're interested in what you heard, start having conversations with your customers, and if you think there's something there, have a chat to Ingram, register a deal, and then we'll help get you off the ground. So what normally happens is once a deal is registered, one of our account executives is assigned to that deal reg, and they'll call you and then they'll help you engage, whether it's initial phone call to the customer or engaging someone in Martin's team to come out and help. So what we really want to say is, we know that DocuSign is new to you guys. You might not be able to go out there and sell it on your own, which is understandable, but we'll help you, we'll run with it and keep you involved every step of the way.
Perfect.
Okay. So before I give you an overview of the new interface on the Ingram Cloud Marketplace, I'll just reach back to Katie and see if we've got any more questions in the chat box.
Not that I can see just yet.
Okay. So if anyone does have any questions, I'll quickly go through the look and feel of the new marketplace. If you do have questions, feel free to put those in the chat box now, and we'll get to those towards the end of my section. So the new marketplace, as you can see there, just go back if you can, please, Martin. So you'll see there on the right-hand side, the new interface, it's very different to what you may have seen in the past. You just click on the login screen there, the next slide, and you'll see there you have the option to go to the new marketplace, or at the bottom there you have the option to go back to the older version as well. We've identified that customers are quite familiar with the older version, so rather than bring everybody across to the new version which are not comfortable, we're giving them the ability to actually use either system. The integration back into DocuSign systems is all seamless. It doesn't matter which of the two that you select, it's really about personal preference. And I'm sure once you get used to the new marketplace, you'll prefer the new user interface. Next slide, please, Martin. So you see down the bottom there, you go into business applications, which I've marked there in yellow. And underneath where it says see all, you'll see in very small letters DocuSign. You click on that. Next slide, please. And you'll see there, you'll see each of the business applications that we have sitting there, which includes things like Microsoft and some others. And the one, of course, which I've highlighted, surprise, is DocuSign. If you go on the next slide, please, you'll see that when you click on that, you'll have the ability to see the DocuSign product. We actually have a number of options there. We have the two user options. We have the annual SKU and the monthly SKU, and we also have the envelopes, which start from 500 envelopes per annum, and it goes right up to 5,000 per annum. You see on the right-hand side, the actual user has a minimum quantity of 2. That's a stipulation by DocuSign to allow changes to documents by a company, so the user limit is actually 2. And on the right-hand side there, you'll see that for the first time under the new marketplace, you can see your margin. So the price you would pay is $519. The list price is $660. I've blocked that off there from the actual list price, but you can actually see that live on the marketplace. And you'll see there the quantity defaults to a minimum of 2. As the margin is important, you can see that it's 24%, so which is actually a very healthy margin. And when you then add in some value-added services to help the customer around their business process, very quickly it becomes quite a profitable part of your business. You see there on the new version, there's the new chat function, which I've just shown you that box on the right-hand side. And you'll see it has the ability to enter your details. It's a chat function. As soon as you enter your details there with your question, you will get somebody responding back to you fairly quickly. It might be, I'm not sure where to go on the marketplace to find something, I'm not clear on the pricing, or I need to contact my account manager and I don't know who that is. All those can be accommodated there. Submit your request and just hit send or submit, and then we'll get somebody to get back to you straight away. Next screen, please, Martin. So when you actually go through DocuSign, I mentioned there is a number of options there. I've highlighted there the 500 envelope option as well. Now, rather than going for the user base, you can actually go for the company-wide envelopes. So this doesn't have a restriction on the number of users. The restriction is on the number of envelopes or basically send requests, the minimum being 500 for the year. You see there that the margin there is at 28%, that's your resale margin. The price there you can see is this price at $3,795, and all you need to do to select that particular product is on the right, you go add to cart. Next slide please, Martin. You see that I've now added that product as well, and you can see there you can have the seats or you could have it by the envelopes, either way works. Next slide please. From there you can either add to one of your existing customers on the marketplace, or you can actually select a new one. This particular case, the example I've used, I'm actually adding a new customer. You provide the email address, the admin email address, physical address, phone number, contact name, etc. And you just hit submit. Again, next slide. As I mentioned before, if you're not comfortable with using the new version, you can at any time go back to the classic version by clicking at the top where it says classic panel. Again, I'll mark that in yellow for you so it's easy to identify. Again, next screen. If you are familiar with the classic panel, I've shown you what that looks like. Many of you will be familiar with that. It is perhaps a little bit dated now, which hence why we've made the investment on the new version. But by all means, if you do prefer to use that, it is still there and still works very well. Next screen. So just closing off, just going back to Kate, see if we do actually have any questions. I'm not getting any more questions. I'm surprised we're not seeing any, but I think Martin and Kerry have also done a great job in introducing DocuSign. If you do, of course, after the webinar have questions or would like to know more information about DocuSign, feel free to contact the email queue there, which is imcloudau@ingrammicro.com. Our direct line there is +612 9381 6735. That will get you into the cloud sales team, and they'll be able to answer any questions you have on DocuSign or any of the products, of course, on the marketplace. We've also included Kerry's details there. Kerry Pappas, who just took you through the section after Martin, that's her email address there. If you would like to have a more in-depth demo or learn more about the partner program, or perhaps you do have a registration to put through a deal and you'd like to talk to Kerry directly as well, there are her details, and she'd be more than willing obviously to help you go through that. Just checking just one last time around the questions. No?
Does DocuSign offer not-for-profit pricing?
Yes, we do.
So yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think we'd need to work with each customer, but there is definitely things we could do around not-for-profit.
Okay. Any others? No?
None coming through just yet, so I'll double check.
Okay. And just closing comments from Kerry or Marty, just to round out the webinar. Anything you'd like to add?
Reach out to me. Really, I'd love to talk to some partners who think this is an exciting offering, because I definitely think it is, and I'd be really happy to talk you through how we can work together.
Cool. And Martin, any last comments from yourself?
Yeah, I'd say I'd agree with Kerry. Reach out to us. We obviously are the experts there. But keep it simple as well. We don't need to overcomplicate things. You know, just focus on understanding your customer sort of needs and their agreements. Register the deal, and we'll work with you from there.
Excellent. Thank you. So those of you that have attended today or have reached out to register for this webinar, you will of course receive a copy of the slides, as Kerry's already pointed out, and you'll also get a copy of this specific recording. Once again, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to either Kerry or the Ingram Micro Cloud Sales team, and I will now end this webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bye for now.